All right, everyone get ready because today we are going deep, deep, deep into the world of Thomas Hobbes.
Deep dive.
Exactly.
That's what we do here.
That's right, and today we're talking about a 17th century philosopher who, well, let's just say he had some very strong opinions.
Opinions, yeah.
About how religion and politics should, or really shouldn't, mix.
That was, putting it mildly, he definitely was not shy about sharing his views.
Not at all. We're talking about Leviathan, of course, Hobbes' masterpiece.
Whoa, Leviathan, yes.
Written right in the middle of the English Civil War.
Talk about a time of chaos.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, it's no wonder Hobbes was so focused on trying to find a path to peace, even if it meant some pretty radical ideas.
Radical's one way to put it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. How did Hobbes think we could escape the chaos, build a stable society?
Big question.
Big questions. And specifically, what role did he see religion playing in all of this? Because let's be honest, religion and politics, they don't always see eye to eye.
Not always, no. They have a history of, let's just say, clashing.
Yeah, a little bit of a bumpy road there.
A bit bumpy, yeah.
So to understand Hobbes' view on religion, we kind of have to start with this idea of the state of nature.
Right. The state of nature, Hobbes is kind of his starting point for thinking about all of this.
Yeah, paint us a picture. What is the state of nature?
Okay, so picture this. A world without laws, no government, every man for himself. Basically, total anarchy.
Oh, fun!
Yeah, not so much fun, actually. Because Hobbes believed this is how humans are fundamentally wired. Yeah. Right? Driven by self-preservation.
Yeah.
And just this constant fear of death.
Okay, so everyone is just living in a constant state of, paranoia?
Paranoia, suspicion, and potential violence.
Exactly. It's not exactly a recipe for a peaceful society.
Not really, no.
No. And for Hobbes, this state of nature, this was the ultimate nightmare, right? It's this total free-for-all that he believed would inevitably lead to what he called the war of all against all. The war of all against all, that sounds lovely.
Not so lovely.
So how do we escape this?
The big question. That's where the social contract comes in.
Okay, so what is the social contract? And how does it get us out of this mess?
Well, think of it like a grand bargain. We, the people, right, we agree to give up some of our individual freedoms and submit to the authority of a sovereign.
Okay.
A powerful ruler, a king, a government, whatever form it takes. And in return, the sovereign provides laws, order, protection.
So we're trading a little bit of freedom.
Yeah, bit of freedom.
For a whole lot of security, which sounds like a pretty good deal if you're living in a world where,
anyone could
stab you in the back at any moment.
Exactly, you got it.
It's a scary world out there.
It is in the state of nature. Very scary.
But here's where I think it gets really interesting in terms of religion. Because Hobbes recognized that religious beliefs, they could easily become a source of division.
Division, conflict.
In this delicate social contract that we've all agreed to.
Yeah, and he'd seen it firsthand, right? The English Civil War, you have different religious factions vying for power, tearing the nation apart.
It's almost like he's saying, look, we finally managed to create some semblance of peace and order here.
Exactly.
And the last thing we need is religion throwing a wrench in the works.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He was convinced that unchecked religious authority, it's a direct threat to the sovereign's tower and ultimately to the stability of the entire Commonwealth.
So what was the solution? Did he want to just outlaw religion altogether?
Not exactly. It was more about, I guess you could say, putting it in its place.
Okay.
Remember, the ultimate goal is peace and order.
Right.
And for Hobbes, that meant making sure that religious authority was firmly subordinate to the sovereign.
Okay, so we're not talking about banning religion, but more about making sure it doesn't get in the way of the sovereign's power to rule and maintain order.
You got it.
So how did he propose to do that?
Well, one of his most, I guess you could say, controversial ideas was this concept of a state-controlled church.
Yeah, this is the one that always gets people talking.
This is the one, yeah. We're talking about a system where the sovereign, essentially the government, calls the shots when it comes to religious matters.
All right, so before we get into the specifics of that, I think it's important for you, the listener, to consider what this really means.
Yeah, take a moment.
To really wrap your head around this. Imagine a world where the government appoints religious leaders, dictates what doctrines are allowed, and even regulates how you're allowed to practice your faith.
It's a pretty radical idea.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
And it's sure to spark some strong opinions.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But keep an open mind as we delve deeper into this controversial proposal, because things are about to get really interesting.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. All right, so this state-controlled church...
It's a big one.
It's a big one. It's definitely one of those things that makes you stop and think, hold on a second, is this really a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine this sparked a lot of debate.
Oh, I'm sure.
Back in Hobbes's time, and it still does today.
Yeah.
I mean, on the surface, it does sound a little, well, tyrannical, right?
Right, giving the government that much power.
That much power over religion.
Yeah, it's like, who gets to decide what the right religion is?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big question.
What happens to the people who have different beliefs?
Right, are they just...
Do they have to conform?
Yeah, silenced, forced to conform? I mean, these are big questions.
Yeah, huge.
And those were exactly the kinds of concerns that Hobbes's critics raised, right?
Yeah.
They argued that this model, it basically just throws religious freedom out the window.
Right.
And, you know, for many people, the ability to choose and practice their faith freely without government interference. I mean, it's a fundamental human right.
Yeah, but it's interesting, though, because I don't think Hobbes was necessarily saying that everyone has to believe the same thing.
Right.
It was more about...
Not about controlling beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah, preventing the expression of those differences from...
Yeah, the expression, that's it.
Becoming a source of conflict.
Right, because remember, he's writing in the shadow of a civil war.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, religious divisions played a major role in all the violence and chaos.
Right. So for him, it's not so much about what you believe,
right,
but how those beliefs then manifest.
Exactly, how they play out.
In the public.
In the public sphere, yeah.
So it's like, okay, believe whatever you want in your head.
Yeah, in your own minds.
But when it comes to public life.
Public life, yeah.
We need to have some rules, some limits, to make sure that everyone can coexist peacefully.
Coexist peacefully, even if we disagree.
Even if we disagree on religious matters.
Yeah, and, you know, even today, we still grapple with these questions about the role of religion in public life.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about the debates over things like religious symbols in government buildings.
Yeah.
Or whether religious groups should be exempt from certain law. I mean, these are all echoes of the same fundamental tension that Hobbes was wrestling with.
Yeah.
How do we balance religious freedom with the need for social order?
And cohesion.
Cohesion.
Yeah. It's crazy how these ideas from, you know, centuries ago.
Yeah, they're still relevant.
It's so relevant today.
It shows you the power of philosophy.
Yeah.
To grapple with these timeless questions.
About human nature.
Human nature, power.
The search for a just and stable society.
Absolutely.
And, you know, for Hobbes, this idea of a state-controlled church.
Right, it was just one piece of the puzzle.
One piece.
He also had some fascinating...
Oh, yeah.
And equally controversial...
I bet.
Thoughts on, you know, how the sovereign should actually govern.
Okay.
How laws should be made and enforced. The limits of power.
Okay, well, you've definitely piqued my interest. I'm ready to dive even deeper into the mind of Thomas Hobbes. What else have you got for us? So, we talked about the social contract, escaping that nasty state of nature.
Right, getting out of that chaos.
And then religion potentially throwing a wrench into everything.
Yeah, things getting messy again.
So Hobbes proposed this state-controlled church.
Right, keep everything nice and tidy.
Pretty radical idea, but I get the sense there's more to it, right?
Oh, there's always more with Hobbes.
Of course there is. I mean, you have to understand the beast he named his masterpiece after, right?
We're talking about the Leviathan.
The Leviathan. Okay, so for those who haven't encountered this before, what exactly is the Leviathan in Hobbes's world?
Well, it's like the embodiment of the sovereign, right?
Okay.
The ultimate power, the big cheese.
Big cheese.
It's this massive, awe-inspiring creature. It symbolizes the absolute authority you need to keep everything from falling apart.
So it's not just about, like, controlling religion.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's about, like, having the power to enforce the laws, punish the wrongdoers.
Exactly, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to keep things running smoothly.
To maintain that peace and security.
So this is not some, like, you know, wishy-washy ruler who's like, oh, I don't know, do whatever you want.
No.
This is like, here are the rules, and you follow them.
This is a serious power player, yeah.
But this is where it gets, I think, really interesting. Because for Hobbes, where does this power actually come from?
Well, it comes from us.
Us.
The people.
Okay.
Remember that social contract we talked about?
Right.
We're the ones who are giving up some of our freedom for that protection, that stability.
So it's not like this sovereign just like, waltzes in and is like, I'm in charge now.
No, no. They derive their authority from the people.
From the agreement we've all made.
From the consent of the governed, exactly.
Okay, but here's the catch, right?
Here's the catch.
Once we've given up that power, we don't just get to, like, pick and choose when we're going to obey.
Right, that's the deal.
Hobbes is pretty clear about that.
Oh, yeah, he's very clear.
Yeah.
He believed that questioning or disobeying the sovereign, even if you don't like what they're doing.
Even if you disagree.
Even if you disagree, it's like you're breaking that contract.
Right.
And you're basically throwing everyone back into the chaos.
Back to the state of nature.
Nobody wants to go back there.
So even if the sovereign makes a bad call, makes a law that we're like, this is totally unjust, we still have to follow it. There's no room for, like, protest or dissent.
Well, for Hobbes, that's the price of peace. He argued that, constant rebellion, constant questioning, it just leads to instability.
And, like, think about it. I mean, if everyone could just ignore the laws they didn't like...
Oh, yeah, that would be a mess.
Society would just fall apart.
Anarchy.
It makes you think about, even in our world today, how we're always debating the limits of government power.
Always a hot topic.
The balance between, individual rights and what's good for the whole.
Right, individual versus collective.
I mean, Hobbes's ideas really make you kind of re-examine those.
They definitely push us to think about things in a new way.
And to think about, like, what are we willing to give up? What are those trade-offs?
What price are we willing to pay for peace and security?
Yeah. It's a question for the ages, and it's one that's not going away anytime soon.
Not at all. And what I find so fascinating about Hobbes is that he really forces us to confront these uncomfortable questions.
Yeah.
What happens when, my conscience clashes with the law?
Yeah.
Is there ever a justification for disobedience? How do we make sure that power, even if it's given by the people, doesn't become oppressive?
It really makes you think about all those people throughout history who've stood up against unjust laws, tyrannical rulers, risked everything.
Yeah, put everything on the line.
I wonder what Hobbes would say about that. Would he condemn their actions?
Tough to say for sure, and, scholars are still debating that today.
Yeah, and that's what makes this deep dive, I think, so compelling. It's not just about, learning about some old philosopher.
Yeah, he's so much more than that.
It's about engaging with ideas that are still relevant, still challenging us to think critically about the world.
He really makes you think.
Yeah, and, agree with Hobbes or not, his work has definitely left a mark on political thought.
An undeniable mark.
And it's still sparking debate and discussions centuries later.
That's the power of a great thinker.
So as we wrap up our exploration of Hobbes and his Leviathan...
It's been a journey.
It's been quite a journey. I mean, it's a dense and challenging work.
It is.
But it's so rewarding to delve into.
Definitely worth the effort.
And, sometimes the best deep dives are the ones that leave you with more questions than answers.
More to ponder.
And make you want to keep exploring even after the episode's over.
Absolutely.
So to our listener, we encourage you to continue this journey. Pick up a copy of Leviathan, see what all the fuss is about, and, see where your own thoughts take you.
Keep those minds working.
Because, as Hobbes himself might say, the pursuit of knowledge is an endless quest.
A worthy one, indeed.
And we'll be right here with you along the way, exploring more fascinating figures and their ideas in future deep dives.